Okay, here we're going to look at conjugate binomials so that we can determine how to rationalize a denominator that has a binomial in it. So conjugates, x plus 3 and x minus 3 are conjugates. So you can see that the only difference is the plus or minus. 3 plus the square root of 2 and 3 minus the square root of 2 are conjugates. Okay, the idea of binomial, x plus 3 is a binomial. There's two things either being added or subtracted together. 3 plus the square root of 2 is a binomial. Okay. So what happens when we multiply conjugate binomials that contain radicals? So for example, if we have 3 plus the square root of 2 and 3 minus the square root of 2 and we multiply them together. Okay, well, when we're multiplying binomials, remember we have to FOIL. So we've got the first, so 9. We've got the outside, so 3 and negative square root of 2. So it'll be 3 minus the square root of 2. We've got the inside, so plus 3 square roots of 2. And we've got the last ones. So we've got a positive square root of 2 times a negative square root of 2. So that'll be minus 2. Remember, if we have the square root of 2 times the square root of 2, and one of them is negative, the square roots are the same as, so this is the same as negative outside, and then the square root of 2 squared, and that's just going to cancel our square root. So we've got negative 2. Okay, so when we simplify that, what's going to happen is anything with a radical, so the positive 3 square roots of 2 and the negative 3 square roots of 2, they're actually going to cancel, and we'll be left with 9 minus 2, or 7. Okay, so what happens when we multiply two conjugates, conjugate binomials that have radicals? Well, we get a rational number, always, because anything containing the radical is going to cancel. Okay, so this helps us to rationalize the denominator. So if we want to rationalize this denominator, we would simply multiply the denominator by the conjugate. So the conjugate of 6 minus the square root of 7 is going to be 6 plus the square root of 7. So we'll multiply both the numerator and the denominator by that. Okay, so we'll look at that example and a few more. So here, okay, so you multiply by the conjugate of the denominator. Okay, so if there happens to be two binomials, only the conjugate of the denominator is what you multiply by. And remember, this fraction is just equal to 1. Something divided by itself is always going to be 1, so we're not changing the value of the original fraction. Oh. Okay, so when we multiply 1 by 6, remember basically what we've got here is 1 times 6 plus 7, the binomial. So we're going to distribute. So 1 times, the square root of 7. So 1 times 6 is, of course, 6. 1 times the square root of 7 is the square root of 7. In the denominator, we've got these two binomials multiplied by each other, these two conjugates. So 6 plus the square root of 7 and 6 minus the square root of 7. So again, we FOIL. So our first one's 36, our outside, so 6 times the positive square root of 7. 6 plus the positive 6 square roots of 7. The inside ones, so a negative square root of 7 times 6 gives us minus 6 square roots of 7. And then the last one, so negative square root of 7 times positive square root of 7 gives us a negative 7. So what's going to happen is the middle terms are going to cancel, and we'll just have 36 minus 7, or 29. Okay, so in the denominator, we've just got 29. And remember, we're using addition in the numerator, so there's no way that we can cancel anything here unless we factor something out. So be careful with that. Not that we could cancel anything between 6 and 29 anyhow, but just something to be aware of. So we can only cancel if we're multiplying. So for example, if we had 6 plus square root of 7 over 12, we can't cancel there. But where we could cancel is if we had 6 plus 6 square roots of 7 over 12, and we can factor out a 6. So we have 1 plus the square root of 7. There we can cancel. So now we can cancel a 6 in both of those, and we get a 2 in our denominator. Okay, so just be careful with that. Okay, I'll do the next couple examples if you want to pause the video, and then you can check them when you're done. Okay, so here's that example, just about complete. This is what I want to explain. So in the numerator, we can see that we can factor out an 11 from our answer. And it might be tempting in this step to want to cancel our 11 and our 22, but we have a plus here. So we have to be careful to factor out the 11. Okay, and then we can cancel the 11 and the 22. So we can cancel 11 from both of those, and we're left with just 2 in the denominator. So we've got 5 plus the square root of 3 over 2. Okay, same thing, you can pause it, and then on the next page you can check your answers. Okay, so here those solutions are. Yeah, in the first one, even though there's 2 binomials, we multiply by the conjugate of the denominator. Okay, so we're going to multiply by 2 minus the square root of 6 over 2 minus the square root of 6. Same in the second one. So the denominator is 3 plus the square root of 5, so we multiply by the conjugate of that over itself. Okay, be careful in the numerator. These are not going to cancel, right? Because it's not a difference. Yeah. Anyhow, they're not going to cancel. These also are not going to cancel. They're both negative. So we add the coefficients together and we get negative 6 squared, so 5. Okay, whereas these will cancel. Okay. Yeah, thanks.